Hello and welcome back to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Today, my guest is Dr. Wendy Myers, who is a ND, a naturopathic doctor, and founder of MyersDetox.com. She is an internationally recognized expert on heavy metal detox, anti-aging, and bioenergetics. She's a sought-after speaker, #1 best-selling author, and the host of the top 50 rated podcast, the Myers Detox podcast. Her mission is to educate and inspire the globe about topics related to anti-aging, detoxing, and our increasingly toxic world to combat disease and increase longevity. Would you like to get thicker, fuller, and stronger hair? Then make sure to check out fullyvital.com. The team's come up with fantastic and natural products that help rejuvenate your hair, but also delay and reverse gray hairs. So if you're interested in better hair, go to fullyvital.com and use the code anti-aging-hacks for 15% off your order. Are you enjoying the shows on this channel? Then please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get notified when we release new episodes. Our goal with this show is to help you and give you practical tips that you can use to slow down and reverse your aging so you can live and feel younger and live your best life. With that said, let's get on with the show. Wendy, welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're a naturopathic doctor, but I'm very curious about how you started your journey, because you've been doing this for a while. You've been in the expert space. You've been helping people detox heavy metals for a long time. And so please walk the audience through how you got into the space, any health challenges you had, and now what you do with all the knowledge.
Yes, well, I'm like all of you guys, just looking for answers. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, way back in the day, and went on Dr. Google trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I essentially was having hormone issues, or so I thought. And when I went to the doctors, I figured out what's wrong with me. I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37, and I was not too happy about to hear that. But when the doctor wanted to put me on hormone replacement, and I just thought, I think isn't that for old ladies? Isn't that for women that are much older than myself?
Yeah.
And that just didn't seem like, this didn't resonate with me. And so I decided to figure out, what causes low hormones, what causes low thyroid hormones, and et cetera. And I hit upon this website that did hair mineral analysis and talked about heavy metals and detoxification. I thought, well, that makes sense to me. And so it was very low investment. So I decided to try it. And lo and behold, I had super high mercury from my sushi addiction, and had really high arsenic because I used to think El Pollo Loco was health food. And, chickens and conventional chickens and eggs are loaded with arsenic because arsenic's in the chicken feed, and that makes you fat. Arsenic makes you overweight. And I also found I had uranium, which makes your hair fall out, and had that experience when I detoxed uranium, and just had a lot of other metals. I had cesium and thallium, and I just thought, God, I'm so healthy. Like, I am a health nut, my full-time job, health, organic food, making my own food, a huge bag of supplements, like exercising, stress reduction, yoga, meditation. I just was obsessed with my health, and thought, what in the F do I have to do, to feel good? Because I think, like a lot of people out there, like myself, I was just doing all this stuff and still having health issues. And then come to find out I had all these hormone issues. And so something was wrong. Something wasn't right in my body. And also my weight loss efforts were just not working. Everything I was doing would have worked in my 20s, no problem. So I went on this detox journey, and I was really, really surprised how much better I started to feel pretty quickly. But, detox is a lifestyle. It is not something, it's very anti-aging, which is great. I'm 51. And I feel like detoxification has played a huge role in removing all of these heavy metals and chemicals, because heavy metals act like a catalyst for like chemical reactions in your body. So they speed up the aging process. And they create a lot of damage in your body, to your DNA, to your cells, to your brain, et cetera, and cause a lot of different health problems, all of which add up to aging you. So for me, adding detoxification to what I was already doing, really for me was the missing key. And I got so passionate about it. I'm here talking to you, 15 years later, since starting my detox journey. And I have huge website now with all kinds of free information about why you want to detox and spend all this time and energy doing that. But also, it's really shocking when you look at the statistics that 17% of all cause mortality is due to lead alone
Wow.
in various ways, directly and indirectly. And so these are huge numbers. So that the heavy metal issue was actually a much bigger problem than I actually originally set out to find. And
Mhm.
so it's really, I think there's a lot more people talking about toxins, which is great.
Right.
But yeah, the research is very clear. Heavy metals age you, and they also contribute to early death as well.
It's really interesting, Wendy. And for people that are going, "Oh, yeah, it's not me. I'm young, I'm healthy. This is not going to impact me." Let me tell you, I also lived in Los Angeles and I didn't know any of this stuff until I did a hair mineral analysis test for the first time. And I had high levels of uranium and arsenic, and those are in the water and the chicken feed that Wendy was talking about. So it's quite easy for these things to get into your body these days, even though we think we live a healthy life. And so obviously they have now, I want to ask you, where do they get stored in the body and are they causing accelerated aging as well?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so heavy metals and chemicals can store it really almost anywhere in the body. I mean, we see heavy metals store in different glands and organs in the body. Mercury can store on the thyroid, et cetera. And we mainly will store toxins, fat-soluble chemicals, and things in our fat cells. And so when you have like a muffin top or even 20 muffin tops and your body is just not letting that go, it's because it's using it as a garbage dump, essentially. That's your trash can. Your body is putting this stuff and storing it in, so it's not going to let it go so easily. And this stuff it gets sort of in our fat, in our brain, our nervous system, really in a lot of our tissues. People can have like an unsightly skin marks. They can have large moles and things like that, or what they think is a mole or a liver spot, and it's actually toxins the body is storing in the skin or in cysts. Any kind of cysts that people have, the body creates that to put stuff in there and kind of capsule it off away from the body. So polycystic ovarian syndrome and different types of cysts that form in the body will store toxins there as well.
Wow, I didn't know that. And so obviously this gets into your body. This is stored in various places. And how does it manifest for people? Like you're a regular person walking about, when I was high in uranium and arsenic, I had no idea that I had all these things, right? Or I had them in my body. And it wasn't necessarily impacting me very much. Maybe some brain fog, but not huge like signs of, hey, got to do something. So how should people think about how to get tested and and what are the manifestations, meaning how are they going to know that something's wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the problem is that a lot of symptoms people have are what are quote subclinical. They
Hmm.
don't really fall into like a diagnosis. They're very vague. They could be anything. They could be caused by multiple things like fatigue, brain fog, maybe feeling a little bit nauseated all the time. Maybe, they have high blood sugar. Maybe they have, they get sick frequently or they have autoimmune issues. There's a lot of different health issues. Really, any health issue can
Hmm.
have a chemical or a heavy metal as an underlying root cause.
Hmm.
But really, fatigue, I think, is especially if you're relatively young, you're in your, 20s, 30s, 40s, and you just, when you should be young and vital and have lots of energy and you just don't, or
Yeah.
you wake up and you feel exhausted, like I did for many years, you just feel like you've been hit by a truck, even if you've slept for 8 hours, that's a
Mhm.
sign that your body, you have a lot of different heavy metals and chemicals that are interfering in your body's ability to produce energy. And that is a problem. Because if you don't have energy, you can't regenerate your body. You can't heal. When you're sleeping at night and you're healing and you're repairing things and you're regenerating your brain's detoxing, you need energy for all that stuff.
Mhm.
Sleep is a very energy intensive process. It's not where you rest to create more energy the next day. It's very regenerative. And it's one of the reasons that people have to prioritize sleep, when they want to be young and healthy and whatnot. But yeah, so you have to maximize energy production, but heavy metals and chemicals throw a big wrench into your mitochondria, your cells' powerhouses that make your body's energy. And so, there's heavy metals, like arsenic, aluminum, tin, thallium, cesium, and mercury, lead. These are big culprits that everyone has these metals to some degree. And so these metals will poison enzymes that transport nutrients into your mitochondria. But there's many, many other chemicals that interfere in our mitochondria. Our mitochondria are essentially bacteria. They're very, very, very sensitive. And they're not just these mindless energy producers. They actually sense threats in our environment. And so when you've been eating fast food, processed food, or you live in an urban area, or you just generally, use conventional beauty products your whole life, or whatever, or all of the above, which is most of us, and your body, your fat has a lot of toxins in it. Your mitochondria are on high alert that there's a problem going on, or if you have a low energy body, you're more prone to opportunistic infections, candida overgrowth, viral overgrowth, other type of pathogens, bacterial infections. And so all of these things coupled together, your mitochondria, they start to power down. They reduce energy production in your body because they don't want to feed these infections. They don't want to give energy to these infections. And so it's called the cell danger response, is Dr. Robert Navio's work, where the mitochondria sense danger and they start reducing energy production. And so, it's difficult to, once you get to a certain point, once you're in that chronic fatigue state where it might even impact your ability to work, it's not difficult. There's lots of things you can do if you're working with the right practitioner to get out of that state. But you want to heed your body's call. If you're tired a lot, or you just don't feel like you have the energy to do the things that you want to do in your life, say you want to exercise and you just find you're tired all the time, heed your body's call. You need to start thinking about detoxification and what's going on to reduce your energy production so much.
Are there particular heavy metals that are bad actors when it comes to fatigue?
Yeah, just like the ones that I mentioned, like arsenic,
Yeah.
aluminum, tin, thallium, cesium, mercury, lead, and a lot of these are airborne. So when you look at coal burning, our main fuel source, that's releasing mercury into the air. That is releasing thallium into the air. That's releasing lead, nickel, other cadmium. And the main point of entry for toxins into our body is breathing. We breathe in 11,000 liters plus a day. And you think of all the tires on the freeways that are just kind of getting eaten up. And there's all this particular particulate matter and all these molecules from industry that get kind of, even if you live in the country, those factories in China that are pumping 24 hours a day, all the black smoke, that's getting into our weather patterns and blowing over your countryside, wherever you are. So it doesn't matter, even in the Arctic ice, they're finding chemicals in that as well, and heavy metals in what you think is a totally pristine environment, far away from everything. So, so we're breathing this stuff in, we're getting it in our food, we're getting it in our water, and if you think about it, even if you eat organic food that's chemical and pesticide free, can still have heavy metals. There's no certification for heavy metals. There's lead-based and arsenic-based pesticides. That lead persists in the soil for decades. And then when you look at, your water, even if you only drink spring water, like for me, since I was, a teenager, I only drank spring water, but I was showering in water that it's contaminated with hormones, birth control pills, antidepressants. They don't check that water, the municipal water sources, for that many things. It's like 10 or 15 things. It's a joke. There's hundreds of chemicals in that water that you're
Hmm.
showering and absorbing every single day in your shower. I'm not saying don't take showers, please shower, but when you start unpacking this, it sounds really depressing, when you think about the impact it can have on your body and all the research, the health issues and aging that can happen with all these toxins, but there's a lot that you can do about it. There's
Hmm.
only so much you can control. Most people can't do a whole house water filter.
Right.
Even if you could, you still have to go outside and work out and go for your walks, and breathe air. So there's
Mhm.
only so much you can control. But what you do need to do is think about a daily detoxification practice, things that you're doing on a daily basis to think about toxins, maybe testing to see what you have, and also in court learning what you can do to get this stuff out of your body.
Okay. I have a couple more questions on these toxins in particular. I think I've heard you talk about the impact that they can have on hormones, and hormones are the symphony, the orchestra that correlate with and also control so many of our systems and organs. And so what impact do, these heavy metals have on sex hormones, but hormones in general?
Yes. Yeah, I talk about hormones a lot because, it for me, just when I learned that I had the hormone levels of a menopausal woman at 37, it was very upsetting. And so I did a lot of research on hormones, and I was really shocked by how many different chemicals impact your hormones, not only reducing the levels, but preventing the conversion of some hormones to another type of hormone. And there's a lot of things in our environment impact hormones. So plastic, even if you eat organic food, you're buying it in plastic containers, plastic bags. And then we have the beauty products, all the parabens, all the perfumes. There's a lot of heavy metals that are like metalloestrogens. Food products, there are so many things that mimic estrogen in our body.
Hmm.
So many different chemicals, all the pesticides, the glyphosate, the conventional foods, the food in the restaurant, all of those pesticides are estrogenic that mimic estrogen in our body, that fool our body into thinking we have plenty of estrogen, and the body ramps down production, of course.
Hmm.
And there's
Hmm.
also, when it comes to different enzymes, so there's things called hydroxylase enzymes. These are very, very sensitive to heavy metal and chemical poisoning, and that will reduce our sex, stress, and thyroid hormone production and prevent the conversion of different hormones, different estrogens to other types, testosterone into estrogen, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's no wonder today, and this is, it's not just an issue with you going into menopause early, or maybe your child starting puberty really early at 8 years old, even, which is happening.
Yeah.
This is a population problem because 1 in 6 couples are having trouble with fertility. They're not able to conceive. And so toxins are affecting sperm motility. They're men, they used to have, like, I think it was like 120 million sperm per milliliter. Now it's 50.
Wow.
It's 50 to 60 million. And at the rate of reduction by 2050, the experts are saying that men may have 20 million sperm per milliliter
Yikes.
of sperm ejaculate. And so it's just really scary when you think about it. So people need to be aware of this. And that's my mission, is to educate people about, how these toxins are dramatically impacting their health, and that they go to their doctor with all these vague symptoms. I'm tired, I'm depressed, or they can't conceive, or they're gaining weight and they get on Ozempic and all these, or they're just given these medications to sleep and for depression and this and that, and they're just still like, or even if they're super healthy, they may just wake up and just feel meh, just feel
Mhm.
gray, and heavy metals can play a big role in anxiety and depression as well. So for me, the detoxification really addressed a lot of my issues, a lot of my health issues, and the research is clear about just how the myriad number of health issues that can be caused by heavy metals and chemicals. And so definitely all the fertility experts I've talked to, hormone experts, detoxification for sure as a part of their strategy in, restoring people's ability to produce their hormones naturally that their body is capable of producing.
Hmm. If you're not convinced that heavy metals are a problem by now, then I don't know what to say because they are. As Dr. Wendy has explained in depth on what's going on in the environment, in our water, in our air, sometimes out of our control, many times out of our control. And so the question then becomes, if you're interested in a longer, healthier life, you've got to understand what the problem is, specifically for you, what's going on inside your body. And the way to do that would be through testing. So, Dr. Wendy, what can people do? What tests do you recommend for somebody that's kind of like dipping their toe in the water to say, okay, I want to do something, I want to take the next step? What might be one or two tests they can take that maybe are not going to cost them thousands of dollars?
Yes, yeah. Well, fortunately, heavy metals testing is not that expensive,
Hmm.
and you can do it at home. You don't have to get a prescription or go to your doctor or anything like that. So what I recommend people do is what I started with, which was called a hair mineral analysis or an
Yep.
HTMA. It's very, very simple to do. You just clip a little piece at the back of your hair from the back of your head and send that into a lab. It's super, super simple. And then you get results back in like a month, and that will give you a really good indication of a lot of things that you have in your body. There's no heavy metal test that will tell you all the toxins you have in your body. It just,
Mm.
unfortunately, some metals come out in the hair, some metals come out in the urine, some come out in the stool, some come out through the skin, et cetera, as we have a lot of different detox pathways, routes of exit. I don't think blood testing is very accurate at all. Maybe for lead,
Mhm.
it's good for lead. You can get a test with your doctor that's covered by insurance. But the problem with blood testing is that the body doesn't allow this stuff to just float around, causing all these kinds of problems. It needs to protect your brain and your body. So it stores it away in fat or on your organs and glands, usually pretty quickly. So, a lot of times people go to the doctor and get a blood test. It's only testing for metals, and then they come back negative, false negative. And then people think, oh, that must not be it. They go on to the next thing, the next rabbit hole that they're going down. And so I really caution people about that. I do like the blood test by Dr. Chris Shade at Quicksilver Scientific, but again, it
Mhm.
doesn't test all the metals. So, hair, urine, and stool in an ideal world. But if you do a hair mineral analysis, you can do a detox protocol, supplements customized to your metals that you have. Different
Mhm.
supplements remove different metals. And that's pretty much, the only info you need to know as far as, designing like a detox protocol. And then, because to get most of your toxins out, you're going to be doing things like infrared saunas and taking binders, maybe doing some ionic foot baths, some lymphatic drainage. And, there's the hair mineral analysis will give you a lot of information and enough to start a really good detox program.
Okay, I love this because now I'm going to ask you very specific questions. Number one, let's say you haven't done a hair mineral analysis test yet, but you recognize that it's very important for you to start detoxing your body, whatever that means for you. And what I'm going to ask you then is if, let's say, people haven't done the test, which I recommend they do, by the way, but if they haven't and they want to just incorporate detox into their life in an easy way, like step one, two, three, what are the three or four things that they can just start to add on to their life that can be something they do weekly or monthly? What are some simple tips that you would give to them?
Yeah, so easiest thing, lowest hanging fruit you can do, minerals, just taking
Minerals.
minerals. A lot of times people don't really focus on minerals because there's a lot of marketing for like sexier things like antioxidants and different products, some, bone broth proteins, and people love taking proteins, but
Mhm.
really minerals are what make your body work. Minerals are the spark plugs of the body. You're going to have a lot of issues with sleep, with anxiety, with just a lot of things not working well. So taking magnesium, 5 times your body weight per day in milligrams. So that's a lot more than what most people are
Mhm.
taking. So if you weigh 200 pounds times 5, you need 1,000 milligrams a day.
Wow.
Probably you're not taking that. You're not going to get that in your multivitamin. A lot of
I'm
people
not.
need, yeah, it's even with an awareness about it, it's hard to get that in because you have to
Yeah.
take it a few times a day.
Hmm.
And I don't always remember, but I have magnesium everywhere in my house, in my desk, in the kitchen, in the bathroom. I have it everywhere. So I'm always reminded to take it. And magnesium glycinate, malate is really good. Ionic magnesium. And so you also want to take calcium. Calcium lactate is
Hmm.
great. Don't believe that any of that nonsense out there that calcium is so bad for you. You
Yeah.
have to take the right form of calcium. Calcium lactate, ionic calcium does not cause calcifications of your soft tissues. You have to take calcium with magnesium and hopefully get some sun and vitamin K2 with any raw dairy you're eating. And
Mhm.
you have to take these things properly. And then taking trace minerals, like you don't need to go buy a fancy mineral supplement, just sea salt. You already have it in your cabinet. I do
Yeah.
not drink water without sea salt in it because you're not going to
Love.
retain the water.
Hmm.
You need minerals to retain that water. So I took every glass of water, I put 2 or 3 pinches of salt in it, and I don't taste it at all. If you
Hmm.
taste the salt, then you're very, very deficient. You need those minerals. I heavily salt my food, and yeah, and I also, you can take trace minerals as well as you want. I really like this product by Activation Products called Trace. This is fantastic. But if you don't want to spend any money, just you can also just have like maybe a liter of water and you put tons of salt, like make it taste like seawater, like
Hmm.
very, very dense seawater, and do 2 or 3 shots of that a day. You're going to get a lot of minerals, and that's going to push out and displace heavy metals from
Hmm.
their enzyme binding sites. Metals and minerals occupy the same binding sites in the body. So if you are cadmium toxic, so you used to smoke in the past, or you're doing medical marijuana or whatever, you're getting a lot of cadmium. You take the zinc that's in that salt water is going to push out that cadmium. Same thing, potassium is going to push out thallium and cesium. And
Hmm.
calcium is going to push out lead. Selenium is going
Wow.
to push out mercury, et cetera, et cetera. You can go down the whole list. Zinc pushes out mercury as well. So it's a very, very simple way, natural way to deeply detox your body. And it's going to take you a long time to replete your minerals because
Hmm.
we are so, so, so very deficient. And so that's simple things that you can do. And then you can also eat, foods that are great for detoxification. Broccoli sprouts, one of the best detox foods in the world. Ginger, I'm constantly eating ginger juice, etc.
Hmm.
Egg yolks are amazing for detox. And then garlic and onions. Those are
Wow.
fantastic. So I'm eating those as much as I can.
Hmm.
And then liver support is really important. 100 million people in the United States have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if you're
Yeah.
overweight, you probably have some liver issues going on, some fatty liver issues. If you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, probably have some liver issues going on. And your liver's your main detox organ. So you need to not only get metals out of your body, but you need to facilitate your body's own natural ability to detox. So coffee enemas, liver flushes, liver supportive foods, liver supportive herbs, bitter foods, bitter
Hmm.
juices, things like that. I definitely, my liver is one of my weak points. So I'm always drinking, beet, lemon juice, turmeric, ginger juice, things like that. I just did a shot of ginger juice this morning. Always doing a lot of these types of liver supportive foods and herbs is really important for liver support as well.
That's why you look so young, Dr. Wendy. That's your secret. You're
Yeah.
keeping all these things out of your body. I was going to ask you, you already answered my question. My question was, how do people know which is the right supplement to take? Because a few years ago, I was like, oh yeah, trace minerals, I got to take this. And so I started taking it from a popular brand. And when I did my hair mineral analysis test, I had high levels of copper, very high levels of copper, and almost no zinc. So it wasn't balancing both of those because they're competitive in the body. And so that's what I learned. I'm like, okay, you just can't take any mineral supplement, any trace mineral. It's got to be the right one. And so I'm glad you brought up trace, but also you shared tips just do naturally. The foods and salt can be very helpful. And then we were talking about, you'd mentioned some other ways to detox, especially for liver. There's a lot of talk these days about using saunas, infrared saunas, just steam saunas, hot saunas. What's your perspective on sweating? And then I also want you to talk about coffee enemas as well.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so sweating is really, really key for detoxification, but there's a little distinction to be made. It's a question I get a lot.
Yeah.
When you sweat in a sauna, you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system where it's relaxing you, and you need to get
Mhm.
into that parasympathetic state to detox. So it's not the same thing as when you go exercise, you go running or cycling and you're sweating, you're in your
Mm,
sympathetic part of your nervous system. You're not activating detoxification, even though in both scenarios you're sweating. So when you are in like a typical Swedish or Finnish sauna where you're just walking in and it's just this wooden room and it's super hot, those are shown to help with detoxification. They have major health benefits. You know, there was a study done in Finland over 25 years where they found that people going into this regular type of sauna 3 times a week had a 25% reduction in all-cause mortality. That's
it's huge.
crazy.
It's
That's
huge.
crazy numbers. But if
Yeah.
you went in 5 times a week, you had a 40% reduction in all-cause mortality.
Wild.
But an infrared sauna, which uses certain wavelengths that mimic the sun, it's kind of these are natural frequencies for your body. You're going to have much more productive sweat, like much more toxins per droplet of sweat than if you went into like a regular sauna. So they're all good. You know,
Mhm.
all the saunas are good. You're just going to get more bang for your buck as far as detoxification if you get into what's called an infrared sauna. And I don't love like the ceramic heaters where the typical wooden saunas out there you go to, they're fine, but I just personally feel strange. Like there's something that feels off to me that I
Mhm.
think they throw off your body's energy field in some way because of the frequencies. I much prefer the bulb saunas. Like I really like the Creatrix Sonafix, creatrixsolutions.com Sonafix sauna.
Mhm.
It's just 4 bulbs for kind of specific frequencies. It's near, mid, and far infrared. It's the full spectrum of frequencies that mimic the sun, so it's very compatible with your body, and it charges up your mitochondria as well. Your mitochondria have little light sensors, biophotons that need to be charged up as well. So
Mhm.
it's helpful in that respect as well. But also you can lay down in the Sonafix, which I'm a little bit lazy. I like to lay down. I don't want to sit on like a little stool
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and do my detox. I just want to lay down and relax. So you can, and
Nice.
they have one you can do yoga in. They have a big gigantic one. Not
Yeah.
going to catch me doing that, but some people they would like to do that. So they like to
Yeah.
do the hot yoga. More power to them.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they have a lot of like neat saunas. And I mean the owner is a nuclear engineer. Eileen
Wow.
Durfee applying her inventor mind, her
Yeah.
engineer's mind to detoxification products. So she also has all the coffee enema uh like kits and different inventions that she's done around there as well.
Mhm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, yeah, so we talked about coffee enema and saunas as being super important. And these are easy things you can do, right? I mean, let's say you don't have a sauna, you can't afford one. There's now affordable ones that you can just have inside your bathrooms. But even if you go to the gym, now there's saunas in the gym. So start to incorporate this. One of the studies that I saw, I think Dr. Rhonda Patrick had shared a few years ago, was how doing sessions of sauna could help increase growth factor
Yes.
naturally in your body, which again, if you're dude trying to get yoked, hell yeah, you need more of that. But also for anti-aging, growth hormone is great, especially if it's natural and you're not, injecting it into your body. Okay, so those are really good practices. And then let's say that people did take the heavy mineral analysis or the heavy metals test through the hair mineral analysis, and they found that they're high in certain aspects or certain minerals like uranium, arsenic, whatever, cadmium. How do they then target those specific ones? Do you have protocols that you recommend to people? How would they even approach this?
Yes. So when you do a hair mineral analysis, it may be typically is difficult to quote read to
Yeah.
a layperson. Definitely, we have a team of or I have a team of 6 practitioners that can do a consult with you and interpret it for you because it's not always what it seems. And there's some metals, if you have any amount of them in your body, say they're not in the toxic range, there's still a problem. Where there's one rat, you see there's 1,000 more. So, when you have a little bit of arsenic, there's probably years and decades of arsenic that have built up. They're just a little bit coming out on your hair test. So there are
Yeah.
certain things that, you can learn in a consult that you're not going to figure out on your own.
Mhm.
And also different heavy metals require different substances to remove them. So if you have arsenic, there's a bunch of different supplements that can focus on removing those. So every hair test you do, you usually will have different metals coming out and your supplements will change. You'll course correction and take stuff to start, excreting the metals that you have on your hair test.
Mhm. So presumably it's taken, as you said, years and years to accumulate these heavy metals into your body and your fat cells. How, and this is the question that I'm sure you get asked a lot, how long does it take to get rid of the body of the levels that might be moderately or severely impacting you?
Yeah, so if you're super dedicated and you do everything you're supposed to be doing, it can take a couple of years. Okay.
Couple of years.
A couple of years.
Wow.
And even
Okay.
then, you're going to remove maybe 80, 90% of what you have.
Okay.
And so the issue is not detox. The issue typically is your body. Your
Mm.
body is the bottleneck. You can only process so many toxins a day. You only have so much energy or liver capacity or whatnot per day to handle this stuff. And sometimes you're detoxing, you can have symptoms, you can have brain fog or anxiety or other things that happen, headaches and things like that. So your capacity to deal with that, in addition to your life, can be that can interfere. So you can only do so much per day. And that's why I say detox is a lifestyle. It is not a race. There's not a race, there is no finish line, because, you have accumulated this stuff for decades. And every day you're breathing, you're exposed to hundreds of chemicals, not just breathing from what you're putting on yourself every day, what
Mhm.
you're shampooing your hair with, and the clothes you're wearing are made of petroleum and polyester. And, it just, when you really start looking at everything in your home, your computer, it's made of metal. You're carrying that like a little baby all over the place. You're absorbing this stuff through your skin, you know.
Mhm.
So, I used to, when I first started learning about toxins, I got really paranoid and overwhelmed about everything. But now I just don't worry about any of it, because I just do the detox. I do the work. I think about doing something on a daily basis. Like I'm either doing an infrared sauna, or I'm doing a cough enema, or I'm doing bioenergetic software testing and programs and protocols bioenergetically using
Mhm.
energy medicine to optimize my body's functioning, optimizing my liver and my body's ability to detox. I'm doing nutrition. I'm exercising, doing like rebounding, lymphatic drainage, or just, I'm doing things for my health that
Mhm.
facilitate detoxification because, there's thousands of new chemicals released every single year, untested into our environment. And so, there's just really detoxification has to be a part of your health regimen. If you want to live a long time, it needs to be a major focus. And I assure you, it pays big anti-aging dividends because these toxins are interfering in your thyroid, interfering in your ability to control your blood sugar, in your liver, and your digestion, and your brain function that contribute to dementia and Parkinson's. And all the research to support all of this is all on my website, on
Mhm.
myersdetox.com, and discussed in depth and detail on the Myers Detox podcast as well.
Yeah, the more I listen to you, the more I'm convinced that this is something very important. This is like brass tacks. You have to do this. Unfortunately, it's a little bit frustrating because you can't see what you don't you don't know what you don't see, right? So it's happening inside your body and it's slowly accumulating and you have no idea. And at some point in the future, maybe 20 years out, we'll get to the place where you have micro robots in your body and they're sensing everything and taking care of it. You wake up in the morning, there's a mirror that scans you top to bottom. But then that'll also require you to put things into your body which you may not want because who knows what they're doing in there. We can talk about that at some other time. Last thing I want to ask you is about, you have also talked about bioenergetics, and specifically, I think the angle that I want to approach this from is from like uh, emotional trauma, and then overcoming that, because at the end of the day, there's resistance, there's trauma to things in life, and it's subconscious and we don't know it, but we act in patterns that are very familiar that keep repeating over and over again. And so, what have you learned in your research when it comes to overcoming emotional trauma? And then, what are some specific tactics that you think are more, again, I'd hate coming back to this, like faster or more effective than others instead of taking 10 years to heal your trauma?
Yeah,
What are
believe
your
me.
thoughts on those?
Yeah, believe me, I've done the slow road to China
Okay.
for the therapy for 10 years
Yeah.
and spent a fortune. And then there's definitely, when you understand the nature of trauma, then you
Yeah.
can address it much faster. And and I'll talk about that in a second, but Kaiser Permanente did conventional medical research on emotional trauma and found that 65% of physical health issues are due to emotional trauma, or what they
No
call
way.
adverse childhood events. And they weren't
Wow.
even factoring in a lot of different ACEs, or adverse childhood events. And there's many, many more. And a lot of experts think it's up to 95% of physical health issues are caused by emotional trauma. So certainly these traumas are going to interfere in your body's functioning ability to detox as well.
Mhm.
And very aging, very creating a lot of stress in your body as well. And like it just creates these inefficiencies in your body that you're always stressed, you're thinking negative, you have these ruminating thoughts, you can't sleep, your relationships are suffering. It just creates a lot of different stressors from every different area of your life. So it's very, very important to address this and understand the nature of it, because emotional traumas are frequencies that
Mhm.
reside in your body's energy field, period. They cannot be addressed with emotional trauma, with talk therapy. You can become an expert in your neuroses in talk therapy, which is great. I'm definitely an expert in my neuroses, but or learning about, how other people's behavior affects you or how to relate to people better. Those are great skills. Okay. And it's nice. There's a lot of loneliness on the planet. People need people to talk to, you know.
Mhm.
But if you really want to address your emotional trauma and all the symptoms that go along with that, you have to use energy medicine. You have to use frequency-based therapy. So you can use, cheapest one, biofield tuning forks, sound baths. They create frequencies that clear out these frequencies that are your emotional traumas. You can use bioenergetic software that
Mhm.
is able to detect these frequencies and can tell you the exact traumas that you had. I had this crazy, and I've been using this one type of software for about 8 years called NES Health, NES Health, and it will do a scan of your body in 1 second, and it can detect all the emotional traumas that you have and what organs they're affecting.
No
And
way.
yeah, and it has protocols that it can clear it. And I had this really I was speaking at this conference, at this interesting experience, and and one of the other speakers, I'm like, hey, let's do a scan on you and look at your traumas. And so we did the scan, and the thing that came up for him was biting. So it was and that affects your teeth. Like if you have a lot of teeth issues or dental issues, you can have traumas around biting, like you biting someone or someone biting you. And I thought, well, that's a kind of a weird one that doesn't come up very often. And he said, oh my God, when I was 27, I was almost killed by a pit bull. And he said, I had
Whoa.
to fight to the death with a huge pit bull, and he killed the dog. The dog was
Whoa.
attacking him and his dog, trying to kill his dog, and it latched onto him, and he actually killed the dog with his bare hands,
Wow.
and which was probably not easy to do. And so he was this was trauma was still a frequency residing in his body that was detected by the scan. So he was very taken aback by that, and the software detected that. And I find that with a lot of the different types of software that I use, it's really not frightening, but it's just scarily accurate. The traumas that you are not consciously aware of, many of
Totally.
them, that it's picking up. And so, and that's another reason talk therapy doesn't work, is because a lot of the traumas you have maybe happened to you in the womb. They could have happened to you before you were able to verbalize or remember them, or you buried them, or they're transgenerational. Lots
Hmm.
of research around transgenerational traumas and how these are energies that are passed down, and that can not even is your stuff, but you're
Yeah.
still dealing with it on the physical level. So there's a lot of layers we can unpack there,
Hmm.
but there's software you can use like Nest Health, there's Biomeridians, there's Zyto, or I'm sorry, not Biomeridians, it's called Bioresonance software. That's Russian technology, and a lot of different amazing software programs and protocols you can use to very effectively and quickly just release your emotional trauma, and it's bye-bye forever. Releasing it with
Okay.
frequency
That,
medicine.
you said some sweet words there. Quickly, effectively, and bye bye forever.
Yeah, bye-bye
So,
forever.
bye bye forever. So, how many sessions would it take? Let's say you had trauma, capital T trauma when you were a child,
Mhm.
and you've been doing talk therapy for 5 years and you haven't got the resolution. You don't feel you're free from it. With these energy devices, how many sessions would it take? Do you have to work, presumably you'd have to work with an expert, but how many sessions would it take?
Gosh, I can't really answer that question because, everyone is so different in, I guess, the timeline that it may take. But, I've been doing various things kind of off and on. I haven't been super focused on it, but I've definitely been doing Nest Health for about 8 years. And over that time period, getting lighter and lighter and lighter. I just feel myself, I just don't have this like heaviness that I feel like I used to have. Like I just wake
Mhm.
up in a really good mood, where I used to just
Mhm.
wake up just feeling like gray, just flat and just kind of numb almost.
Yeah.
And so that has lifted. But now I do things like Zyto, and I still work with a practitioner. I'm not a Zyto practitioner, but the Zyto Evox, a component of Zyto, is it's a scan you can do at home,
Mhm.
and they're just various treatment protocols they can send to you over online. And I recommend working with Dr. Michael Rankin. He's brilliant. He's my personal physician. Brilliant, brilliant doctor, has been doing energy medicine for 50 years. I mean,
Wow. Okay.
and he's very, very well respected in the health community. And so he's who I go to do Evox. My daughter works with him to clear things, and it's just crazy accurate
Mhm.
what the Zyto Evox scan can come up with. And so, if you feel like, for me, when I had done all the health stuff, I'm doing the diet and the supplements and the exercise and stress reduction, and then I wanted the next level. For me, that was detoxification. And so I started working on the detox. And I had done that for 10 years. I'm like, okay, still kind of meh, just the mood is just kind of gray, flat. What am I missing here? It was the emotional trauma component. But I've been wanting to work on the emotional trauma component since I was a teenager, doing therapy as a teen, trying to figure out what's going on. But if you can get to the emotional trauma component, I think that clears a lot of the physical issues and
Mhm.
symptoms that your people are looking to resolve. So adding that also is super, super important, but you're not going to find it in therapy, unfortunately.
Totally. I agree with you. Yeah, it shouldn't take, well, who am I to say it shouldn't take this time or that time? But I don't feel like talk therapy, even though CBT is like the gold standard, cognitive behavior therapy. I've done EMDR
Yeah,
myself, and
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I've had way faster and way better results with EMDR and I haven't done a lot of CBT, so I can't accurately say for me the difference, but EMDR has been quite effective. When it comes to the therapies you mentioned, biofield tuning and or sound bath. So sound bath, you have to go to a sound bath session, therapy session. But can you do any of these at home by yourself?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can do biofield tuning at home. It's very, very effective. And that's, using a frequency, you're like hitting the fork on a table or whatever, and it imparts this frequency that, tunes your body field.
Mm.
Eileen McCusick is the world's expert on this. She's got amazing courses and books. You go to her website, biofieldtuning.com. But there's also lots of free videos on YouTube. You can listen to different frequencies, the solfeggio frequencies, different frequencies that will help to relax you or whatnot. And, they're not as strong as and targeted as some things that you can do, but they are free and you can do them at home.
Okay. Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for coming on the show. Please tell the listeners where they can find you, learn more about this very important topic that they must pay attention to if they want to live a long and healthy life, heavy metals and the detox. So tell us where they can find you, all your socials, emails, all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me at myersdetox.com, and you can check out the Myers Detox podcast as well. I have almost 550 episodes. I've been doing that for a long time.
Wow.
But it's been an amazing experience and helped millions of people with that. And you can find me on all the social media and Myers Detox, YouTube at Wendy Myers, because I was really early in the game. I somehow got Wendy Myers on YouTube.
Nice.
I've been doing this
That's
for a long time.
totally. And that's why you're the expert. So I would highly recommend if this discussion has intrigued you about heavy metals, and it should have, then go check out Dr. Wendy and see what she has to offer and all the education, because we need detox. Every tradition, even the Eastern traditions like Ayurveda, talk about detoxification as being extremely important. I myself have done an Ayurvedic treatment a few years ago, and that was heavy in detox, and it also tells you that you should do something on the regular, which is what Dr. Wendy is talking about. So definitely check her out and subscribe to her email so you can get more information about all that's going on. Check out her podcast. Make sure to listen. Again, I've watched a bunch of her episodes and she just drops a lot of knowledge. So thank you, Dr. Wendy, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun. Okay, great.
Okay,
Awesome.
perfect. I
All
know we're
right, thank
coming
you
with
so
time,
much.
so thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I will